Promoting dialogue.
It's 6 p.m. in Dakar. Good evening and welcome to Newslink here on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM and across the world at wadr.org. Here are the top stories. President Patrice Talon of Benin addresses journalists on December 7 fall coup attempt. Unemployment surges in Ghana by 13% according to government statistician.
Unemployment is significantly more severe in cities than in rural communities. About 1.34 million young people were not in employment.
The federal government of Nigeria announces reopening of all 47 unity schools after weeks of closure due to insecurity. And in Senegal, experts react to the government's diaspora bond as a financial backup to national economy. Please stay tuned for details of these stories and more.
Here is Abdullahi Hassan with Newslink.
Many thanks for joining our broadcast. Let's begin in Benin, where President Patrice Talon today held a press conference to address the fall coup attempt that took place on Sunday, December 7. Speaking to journalists, the head of state provided details about the events, noting that at one point he had Lieutenant Pascal Tagri on the phone. President Talon explained that some of the mutineers tried to escape in civilian clothes and on motorcycles, while Pascal Tagri left the Tobin camp by car, also dressed in civilian attire. The president stressed that the December 7 attack was not orchestrated by the National Guard or its leadership. Details of this press conference will come in a subsequent bulletin. Meanwhile, in Nigeria, the federal government, through the Ministry of Education, has announced the reopening of all 47 unity colleges closed earlier this month due to rising insecurity across the country. In a statement on Thursday, the ministry said academic activities have resumed after security measures on and around the campuses were strengthened. Meanwhile, the transitional authorities in Burkina Faso have released 11 Nigerian Air Force pilots and crew members 9 days after their detention. They were released on Wednesday after a Nigerian delegation led by the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Yusuf Tuga, held talks with Burkinabe authorities in Ouagadougou. During the meeting, the delegation expressed regret over the incident involving a Nigerian aircraft that made an emergency landing in Burkinabe airspace without prior authorization. Augustine Kole reports.
Speaking after the audience, the Nigerian foreign minister apologized for the incident and thanked Burkinabe authorities for their treatment of the aircraft's occupants in what he described as a spirit of fraternity. Nigeria also sought to ease tensions triggered by comments from a Nigerian political figure who alleged that Nigerian soldiers were being mistreated in Burkina Faso. Mr. Tuga dismissed the remarks as unhealthy and emphasized that Abuja fully disassociates itself from such claims. Beyond the incident, discussions also focused on counter-terrorism efforts in the sub-region. The Nigerian diplomat praised Burkina Faso's recent security gains, with both sides reaffirming their commitment to strengthening bilateral and regional cooperation to confront the threat of terrorism in West Africa. The visit comes amid delicate diplomatic relations in the region as West African countries navigate security challenges, airspace controls, and shifting political alliances. Observers say Abuja's swift diplomatic engagement signals an effort to preserve cooperation with Ouagadougou and prevent the incident from escalating into a broader regional dispute.
A report by WADR's Ouagadougou correspondent Martin Kaba and voiced by Augustine Kole.
More stories coming up on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
As a reminder, we stream live at wadr.org and on Facebook and YouTube at WADR English. Ghana's unemployment rate has recorded a slight increase, rising to 13% in the third quarter of 2025, up from 12.8% in the second quarter of the year. Releasing the latest labor force statistics in Accra, government statistician Dr. Alhassan Idrisu said the data continues to show a persistent gender gap in unemployment. According to him, female unemployment remains consistently higher than male unemployment, with an average difference of 3.7 percentage points in every quarter. The report also highlights growing challenges among the youth. More than 1.3 million young people were neither unemployed through education nor training, underscoring ongoing labor market pressures and widening skills gaps across the country. Here is the government statistician.
The overall unemployment rate averaged 12.8% across the three quarters, that's quarter 1, 2, 3 of 2025, reducing from 12.8% in quarter 1, 2025 to 12.6% in quarter 2 of 2025, before increasing slightly to 13% in quarter 3 of 2025. Female unemployment was consistently higher than male unemployment, with an average gap of 3.7 percentage points across the three quarters. And if you look at the gap in the third quarter of 2025, we are looking at 3.6 percentage points. In quarter 3 of 2025, urban unemployment rate was 15.4% compared to rural unemployment rate of 9.8%, giving a gap of 5.6 percentage points. In simple language, unemployment is significantly more severe in cities than in rural communities. Now, let's look at a very important indicator, which is what we refer to as youth not in employment, education, or training. And the data collected shows that in the third quarter of 2025, about 1.34 million young people aged between 15 to 24 years, roughly about 21.5% of them, were not in employment, education, or training. And that statistic is quite alarming. For those aged 15 to 35, the number rose to 1.95 million people, or 19.5%.
The voice of Dr. Al-Hassan Idrisu, government statistician of Ghana. Away from Ghana to Guinea, the second phase of the trial concerning September 28, 2009 stadium massacre opened today, Thursday, December 18, 2025 in Conakry. The proceedings come more than a year after the conviction of Captain Musa Dadis Camara and 7 other defendants. This new phase concerns Colonel Bienvenu Lama and 4 other officers of the Guinean army who were indicted following revelations made during the first phase of the trial. Imoradat has more.
According to sources close to the investigation, the accused individuals will be tried in 2 separate cases, both related to the crimes committed on September 28, 2009. In response to the announcement, Colonel Bienvenu Lama's lawyer, Attorney Zizi Kalivogu, stated that he is prepared to prove his client innocent in court, noting that his client has been detained without trial for over a year. However, Attorney Kalivogu expressed concerns about the timing and circumstances surrounding the preparations, particularly as Guinea approaches major elections in the coming weeks. The opening of the second phase of the trial comes 1 month after the last visit from a mission of the International Criminal Court (ICC) to Conakry. Led by Deputy Prosecutor General Mam Manjai Nyang, the delegation visited to inquire about the progress of the proceedings in preparation for this second phase of the trial and the initiation of the appeals process. Following her meeting with Prime Minister Baori on November 19, 2025, she reaffirmed the ICC's commitment to support the second phase of the trial, ensuring that it is conducted fully and transparently. Recall that more than 150 people were killed, hundreds more were injured, and women were raped during a demonstration held on September 28, 2009 at the stadium in Conakry. The demonstration was organized in opposition to a possible candidacy of Captain Musa Dadis Camara in the presidential election being prepared at that time.
A report by WADR's Conakry correspondent, General Alpha Ibrahim Balde, and voiced in our studios by Imo Redat. In the Gambia, a 2-day national dialogue on migration is underway in the capital, Banjul. The event, organized by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in partnership with the International Organization for Migration (IOM), carries the theme Leveraging Regular Pathways for the Gambia's National Development. Its goal is to explore ways to expand safe and legal migration channels, curb irregular migration, and harness the economic benefits of migration for the country. From Banjul, Santona Mendy reports.
According to statistics, more than 150,000 Gambians live abroad, and their remittances account for over 32% of the country's GDP. Last year alone, Gambians overseas sent home nearly $776 million. Despite this significant contribution, irregular migration remains a major challenge for the Gambia. Data from the International Organization for Migration indicates that over 4,000 Gambians arrive in Europe through irregular routes in 2024. At the opening of the dialogue, Minister of Information, Media and Broadcasting Services, Ismaila Ceesay, emphasized that a collective effort is necessary to drive skills development, investment, and inclusive growth in the Gambia.
The devastating loss of young lives to the dangers of the irregular routes. These tragedies underscore the urgency of promoting safe, orderly, and regular pathways that protect the dignity and rights of Gambians while unlocking opportunities.
According to the International Organization for Migration, expanding access to regular migration pathways is key to reducing dangerous journeys and exploitation. Siba Asia is the IOM officer in charge in the Gambia.
In practice, bilateral labor agreements such as the Circular Migration Agreement with Spain and Saudi Arabia, they have opened doors for Gambians to work abroad safely, while digitization processes of border control procedures through installation of migration information and data analysis system, it is contributing towards enhanced border governance in the country.
Meanwhile, discussions are currently focused on expanding legal labor migration opportunities, improving border management, and strengthening partnerships with countries such as Spain, Qatar, and Saudi Arabia. Organizers state that the recommendation from the meeting will inform the Gambians' preparations for the next International Migration Review Forum scheduled for next year. For Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, I am Sangdana Mendy reporting from Banjul.
And on the diplomatic front, the Sierra Leonean government has responded to a new declaration by the United States imposing full entry restrictions on Sierra Leone nationals following an announcement issued on December 16, 2025. In a press release from the Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, the government confirmed that Sierra Leone had been moved from partial to full restriction status under revised U.S. immigration measures. Reacting to the development, the government reaffirmed its commitment to international cooperation and constructive engagement with U.S. authorities to address the concerns raised. According to the Foreign Ministry, discussions are already ongoing with the United States government, noting that restrictions are subject to periodic review. It adds that efforts are being intensified to strengthen document security, repatriation processes, and information sharing mechanisms in line with global best practices. And just before the break, let's take you to Liberia, where the ruling government is facing criticism over allegations of corruption and poor governance. On Wednesday, several citizens demonstrated in the capital, Monrovia, expressing strong discontent with President Joseph Boaká's administration. The protest, organized by the Solidarity and Trust for a New Day stand, calls for improvements in living conditions. Demonstrators accused the government of the day for corruption and mismanagement of public funds, demanding greater transparency in governance. From Monrovia, Abraham Parker has more.
The protesters were unable to deliver their petition to the executive mansion due to a heavy security presence. This is the second time that stand has been prevented from accessing the grounds of the executive mansion during their protests. Despite being blocked by state security forces, Stand emphasized the urgent need for the government to address corruption, improve for public services, and to create economic opportunities for all Liberians. Molba Molu, chairman of the group, accuses the Liberian National Police of using excessive force against peaceful protesters.
The police demonstrated brutality against peaceful protesters. The police has seized our music truck. At least 2 police vehicles drove among peaceful protesters. I enough them because we are peaceful that could have been casualties. The LNP under Joseph Boaká attack the protest and seize our truck and prevent it from moving forward. How do we communicate?
In addition, Alvin Wisse, youth chair for the former ruling party, the CDC, urges Liberians to speak out against what he describes as President Bouakar's poor leadership. However, the Liberian government has not yet issued an official response to the protest or the demands made by the protesters. For Newslink on WADR, April Parker, Monrovia.
You are listening to Newslink here on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM and live online at wadr.org. Here's a reminder of our top stories. President Patrice Talon of Benin addresses journalists on December 7 full coup attempt. Unemployment surges in Ghana by 13% according to government statistician. The federal government of Nigeria announces reopening of all 47 unity schools after weeks of closure due to insecurity. Ahead in the news, experts in Senegal react to the government diaspora bond as a financial backup to national economy. We also have the guest interview and sports news. Please stay with us.
Fresh and breaking news all the time. Hear it first as the news breaks, only on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
Many thanks for staying with us. Here in Senegal, expert analyses are emerging a day after the country celebrated its inaugural National Diaspora Day. The new government aims to make Senegalese citizens living abroad a key pillar of public policy and national development. Last September, the Senegalese government turned to its diaspora sector to raise 300 billion CFA francs. These citizens living abroad are increasingly contributing to the recovery of Senegal's struggling economy. However, concerns are growing about whether the support from the Senegalese diaspora can adequately compensate for the current funding blockage from the IMF. Dr. Suleiman Keita, an economist and research professor at Sheikh Anta Diop University in Dakar, shares his thoughts on this matter.
Vous savez, nous sommes dans des pays en développement, et quand on parle des pays
we are in developing countries, and when we talk about developing countries, we shouldn't base our development plan solely on the Bretton Woods model. I'm talking about the IMF and the World Bank. We need to look for alternatives. For the moment, that's the short term, the long term. Now, in the long term, we might need to rethink how we finance the economy. So today, when we organize events for the diaspora, it's to better direct funds towards what we call important economic development projects, and it will also be an incentive to facilitate skills transfer. For example, to encourage professionals who are working abroad, like doctors, engineers, and researchers, with their distinctive skills. Now, those in the know, or at least those who are aware of and involved in the country's economic development, facilitate what we call this exchange of skills, which allows us to substantially improve our operational processes. I say that the diaspora is a solution, but also we can't do without the management of concrete projects, because these institutions, beyond the money, the length of the country, need their endorsement to lend credibility to the investments we are going to make, and now also to attract funds from other markets. I think it's a temporary solution until the situation returns to normal.
Jusqu'à ce que maintenant la situation redevienne à la normale.
Dr. Suleiman Keita, an economist and researcher at the Sheikh Anta Diop University, Dakar. Still in Senegal, stakeholders at the 2025 International Conference of Journalism in Africa are advocating for the protection of press freedom as a means to strengthen democracy and promote good governance in the sub-region. The two-day conference, organized to commemorate the 60th anniversary of the Center for Studies in Information Science and Technology, CESTI, focuses on key issues affecting the media landscape and the rise of artificial intelligence, AI. It is being held under the theme Journalism, Democracy, and the Challenges of Digital Transformation, What Future for Reliable Information in Africa? The conference takes place at a critical time when the region is facing military takeovers and increasing media repression. Christopher Ticho was at the conference and filed in
The International Conference of Journalism in Africa comes at a time when Reporters Without Borders 2025 report shows a worrying increase in journalist assassinations globally, with the sub-region of particular concern. The meeting, which marks CESTI's 60th anniversary, highlights challenges and proposes solutions affecting the media space on issues of artificial intelligence, regulations, including funding, press freedom and the protection of journalists. Professor Mamadou Njai, director of CESTI, says the conference serves as a moment of reflection on the quality of media professionals.
We realize that we have a system of tools that uses both journalists and those involved in the production of disinformation and misinformation. Therefore, we must pause and examine the evolution of the profession as well as its relationships with various powers, but also everything that concerns society.
Meanwhile, Dr. Musa Job, PhD lecturer with CESTI, reiterates that public good is served through responsible journalism.
This international conference designed like this to raise the participation of CESTI in this reinforcement of democracy.
Also speaking, Suleiman Yan, head of WADR's board of directors, urges journalists to be professional and ethical in their line of duty, while calling on the government and regional bodies to create an enabling environment that protects the press for the sustainability of democracy.
They should support economically, because economically weak media cannot play the role we expect from them in terms of fostering democratic and governance values.
Established in 1965, the Center for Studies in Information, Science and Technology, CESTI, provides journalism training and equips journalists for social impact and development.
Christopher Teacher with that report.
Politics, analysis on major news, social matters, and all. This is A Guest.
The guest segment takes us back to Burkina Faso, where transitional authorities have released 11 Nigerian Air Force pilots and crew members 9 days after the detention. The release followed high-level talks in Ouagadougou between Burkinabe officials and a Nigerian delegation led by Foreign Affairs Minister Ambassador Yusuf Tuga, during which Nigeria expressed regret over an unauthorized emergency landing by one of its aircraft. What does this incident tell us about diplomacy, military coordination, and regional relations in West Africa? To help us understand the significance of this development between Nigeria and Burkina Faso, a member of the AES Alliance, we are joined by international relations expert Michael Iyo.
Burkina Faso is definitely battling a lot of insurgencies and very sensitive these days to airspace violation and all of that. And so it's very, very good for us to start from that basis and understand that there's a lot of insecurity happening over there, and also appreciate the role that is being played by soft power, because nations, of course, like Burkina Faso and the others would easily have resorted to the use of hard power in cultural diplomacy and diplomatic settings. But their ability to sit down and have country-to-country conversations is something that is worth commending. I believe that all nations, together with Mali and all the others, can also adopt the same similar role. And I think that, importantly, this is a sign that diplomacy always wins. It gives us and understands the role and the value of state-to-state dialogue. Rather than escalating it, there was a lot of diplomatic engagement, which is very good. Preserving mutual respect is also another point that is very, very important for us to note, because pragmatism was the only way out so that it didn't have to escalate. And so for the regional cohesion, for regional integration, and understanding that even though they are different regional blocks now, there's still a way for them to collaborate diplomatically without utilizing hard power. So that is what I believe happened, and that is the right step in the right direction.
You've just mentioned that the region is very tense, so they're very cognizant of issues of, insecurity and an airspace thereabout. In that case, how might this incident affect future military flights in the region?
Burkina Faso is a state on its own, and understanding the Sahel region, you should also understand how insecure they are. And so you cannot just get up and fly your planes in another country, whatever reason it is that the airspace decided to invade. The moment you leave your territory, the way the African region is structured in the various blocks and in the various regions, into the states over there, you have to understand you are moving into a new territory. And so with diplomacy opening the way in this case, if you want to do anything, whatever it is, whether it's a military drill, the purpose to which it was being conducted, I believe there's a proper channels to go, rather than just doing it in a period where there's a lot of heightened tension. And so I believe that for Nigeria and other countries, they should do them in the right channel. If you want to have whatever purpose it is, sit down with the leaders, try and let them understand exactly what it is for, and then there can be progress. That is what I believe in.
Finally, before I let you go, sir, could this event have broader implications for regional security cooperations?
How citizens in both countries interpret this, of course, matters. But I believe that the peaceful resolution can really build public confidence in diplomacy at a time where skepticism towards regional institutions is growing across West Africa. And so I don't think that there's a bigger problem to actually look at. Yes, the release sets a good precedent, right? That amid all the political realignments and military-led governments, international norms and diplomatic channels still apply. The precedent has been set. Niger and the other countries in the Sahel states can also adopt that. The role of the African Union is also something to look at. And so it is going to influence a lot, on ECOWAS and the AES states and how they are handled and how their issues are handled. And so I don't think there's nothing to worry about when it comes to these states or regional integration or public perception, regional trust. It's rather a step in the right direction, I believe.
Michael Yao is an international relations expert. In the sporting world, Ahmed Musa, Nigeria's most capped international, has announced his retirement from Super Eagles duty after nearly 15 years. The former captain made 111 appearances, won the 2013 AFCON, and remains Nigeria's highest World Cup goal scorer. Musa says he bows out with pride and gratitude, closing a historic chapter in Nigerian football. CAF has announced a record 20 media rights deals across more than 30 European territories for the Total Energies CAF Cup of Nations Morocco 2025, boosting the tournament's visibility across the continent. Now, AFCON kicks off on December 21 with matches airing on major broadcasters including Channel 4 in the UK, Movistar in Spain, and free-to-air networks in Greece and Norway. The move highlights the growing global appeal for African football and will bring the tournament to millions of fans across Europe and the world. And with that, we've ended this edition of Newslink here on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal. Thank you for listening, and many thanks to Ismaila Kamara and Mustafa Sek for the technical support. Do interact with us via social media platforms X, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook at WADR English, and stream live at wadr.org. Coming up at the bottom of the hour is a rebroadcast of WADR's flagship environment program, Enviroscope. I'm Abdullahi Hassan. Good evening.
And many thanks to you for listening to Newslink via Hot 104.3 FM, Newmi FM 94.0,
Hilltop Radio 104.7 FM,
and Veritas Radio 102.9 in Banjul, the Gambia. We also appreciate our listeners in Liberia via Alternative Youth Radio 98.9 FM, Lofa County,
Radio Kagama 94.5 FM, Niba County, DCN Radio 91.3 FM, Riverside County, Wakat FM Radio, Banga, Liberia, Radio Baf FM 91.3 Sierra Leone in Nigeria, and Love 104.5 FM Abuja.
For you listening via Radio Pad 95.1 Damango, Savannah region, and on Royals FM 104.7 Wenchi, Ghana, we say a big thank you. Remember, West Africa Democracy Radio is all about you.